And now let's go to a bit sort of further up north. Let's go to Belgium and Antwerp. We have with us Jan Laurijssen. Hi, Jan. Are you there?
Hey, good afternoon. Yeah,
Great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I wish there was a little bit better weather here, but we're doing fine.
But we're getting there. You know, a number of weeks, critical weeks, and perhaps.
Yeah. Even I would have wished I was there in your cozy studio, but unfortunately, we haven't been able to get there yet.
Well, thank you. It is very cozy, actually, but it's good to have you with us, you know, in this hybrid model digitally. Mm-hmm. Anyway, always good to have you. Hey, Jan, I'll sort of just tell the audience shortly that we still have 2 last deep dives today, starting in only a couple of minutes. How to build a future-proof, sustainable organization, and why employee engagement drives business success. So, Jan, it's not for you. We need you here. You can't, you can't go there yet. But you know, some of our 700-head audience might head in that direction. Hey, Jan, you're a researcher. We know that. So, what do you exactly research at SDworks?
Yeah, well, I've been a consultant for 10 years, and I'm more in research now for SDworks. We have a proper research center investigating a number of topics in HR and, of course, also in labor law. We are specifically interested in the world of work, where employment is going, how we should manage people, and in careers, how we can build sustainable careers for people. So that's where we're investigating and hoping to use these insights as a big help for our clients, and also building for a better data and insight strategy to help our clients with that. So we're gaining insights from our research to help our clients to get to grips with the data that they have on their personnel.
Jan, people analytics is a hot topic. So although some have claimed it to be a fad, so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think people analytics is an emerging field within HR. So we're learning from that.
So it's not a fad?
No, it's not. It's emerging, but that does mean that there is a big promise, but it is yet to show its full potential, I believe. So we're not there yet.
All right. Hey, before your presentation, any sort of upfront advice for our HR audience?
Yeah, I'll be ending that with my presentation as well, but I think it's because it's an emerging field, because it's something that we're not used to in HR or not using enough, I think it's up to all people in HR to sharpen their analytic skills and to dig a bit deeper again in what data is available, what the potential of that data is. Not to focus too much on the tools yet. Tools are available, but really sharpen your analytic skills because you're going to need them.
And I guess, you know, in this time of technology and all that, so it's, you know, the time is on our side. We have better tools all the time for analytics, haven't we? Of course.
Yes, we do. I think that their tools are available, many to choose from, and to discuss also with the guys, the data scientists in IT. But I think the real problem is the availability of the data, the quality of the data. To have a good check on that, making sure that we get the right conclusions from the right data, because otherwise it's just garbage in, it's garbage out, you know.
Jan, anyway, it's all yours now for the next 60 minutes. People analytics to drive evidence-based HR.
Great, thank you. Hi there. I'm going to talk to you for the next 15 minutes about people analytics and how they can drive evidence-based HR. That is a number of definitions already that we're going to have to discuss, and then look at the full potential of analytics, where we are and where it may go. First of all, thank you for having me. It's great to be back here again. I was here also last year on another event, then talking for Aditro. Just wanted to point out that Aditro has now become the SDworks family. So that you know that we're talking for them as well. Here's my agenda. I'm going to talk about HR research, what we research, what's evidence-based HR, what is people analytics, what should we do about it, then talk about a maturity model that may help to get an idea where we are moving or how you can move ahead with people analytics. and then looking at people analytics in the HR department, because that's basically the most important thing that we're going to talk about. If we move ahead with HR research at SDworks, it's there that we actually find the ideas to work with analytics and what it may be used for by HR and its full potential. So we do international surveys. That is part of analytics as well, also for your own organizations. We do that on a European level. We also investigate the future of working people on a regular basis. Talent management, HR outsourcing are all topics that we survey. So this is already some part of research, but also one type of analytics that we may use and that may prove useful for your own practice as well. At the same time, we've been collaborating for 10 years now with Professor Hans de Vos at the Antwerp Management School, where we have a research program focusing on next generation work. So all sorts of work that you may think about, but also on sustainable careers and where are we going with careers, especially in this day and age of talent shortages, a very important topic. Last but not least, we also have the capabilities to do on-demand research projects for our clients, for governments, and so on and so on. We focus their topics that are close to us and using data that are proprietary on the reward, for instance, but also topics like talent pooling that is very hot at the moment that we are investigating in a practice-based research. So we are focusing in general on research on employment, how it's evolving and how it's affecting the world of work and how careers are developing. This has learned us a lot about the potential of data and where it's taking us in terms of HR. What I'll talk about first, before we talk about analytics, it is where do we fit this in? Where do we fit in data in the bigger picture of HR? And I want to draw there from the work by Denise Rousseau, who's been very important in researching all sorts of topics of HR, for instance, also the ideals. What she talks about is evidence-based HR. And I think this is a very interesting starting point to think about analytics and how they may help us. So basically, the starting point for evidence-based management is that management decisions should be based on a combination of critical thinking and the best available evidence. And there we have it. The evidence. And any evidence, we mean information, facts, or data, but not only data, maybe. So data has the important advantage that it may contribute to our understanding of better decisions in HR. Looking at that would mean that we have, of course, in HR, a lot of science already. We have literature, we have research that helps us and that guides us in terms of finding practices that are based in research, in evidence. We have the expertise of our colleagues. We have the expertise of a number of people, our peers in other organizations, the know-how. We've got consultants, we've got practitioners that actually can help us build a better understanding of HR, and that helps us to build evidence for decision making. We can also involve our stakeholders. They may help us also with their demands and with their how they look at HR, with surveys, using partners, talking to partners, and so on and so on. The point that I want to talk to you about today is that data is one out of 4 sources of evidence that may help us to build a better HR and a better understanding. And this is, like I said in the beginning with the interview with Peter, that this is an emerging field. And this is a field that we need to explore to better understand where it's taking us and where its full potential is. So it's 1 out of 4, but it may prove to be very important in the understanding of HR in the future. We're getting at this. So we're talking about people analytics. What about HR analytics? I'm going to share with you 2 slides that are talking about what it is and what it isn't. And I think that's really important for the better understanding of this topic. I'm going back to research that's been done by a big name in management and research, which is John Boudreau, who had a look at HR analytics, what it means. And they came about that HR analytics is an evidence-based approach for making better decisions on the people side of business. So on everything people side of business. And this may take us a long way. We can talk about well-being. We can talk about diversity. We can talk about performance. Any of these may be supported by data. They have several things in common when we talk about HR analytics. First of all, we look at the right-hand side. It's not just metrics. It's just not measuring, and it's not just reporting. It's more than that. Because secondly, it does not focus exclusively on HR data. It's more than that. It's integrating data from different internal functions and data external to the firm. So this would mean that we also have to think about combining people and personnel data that we have, potentially with financial data of our organization, or additional to labor market information that is available publicly, for instance. So we're looking at those kind of topics. It involves, of course, information technology to collect, not what to collect the data, to manipulate and to report the data. So different toolings on the market to actually do that. And already some of them used in other fields, like in finance, very popular and so on. So it's about supporting people-related decisions. So it may help you to think about some of the decisions that you're taking in terms of recruitment, in skills. I heard a previous speaker also talk about talent management and AI. There, this may help us. And it's especially linking HR decisions to business outcomes and to organizational performance and success. So this is more than just using data. It's taking us way further. Another researcher had a look at what is it that value propositions of organizations promote, or actually what they propose to do, where data analytics comes in. And they claim that it helps to do better strategic decision making, that it helps to improve data handling processes, improve people management, for instance, new technological solutions for collecting, storing, analyzing HR data, very important, of course, and a direct impact on HR or strategic business outcomes, employee-oriented benefits as well. So the promise of HR analytics is huge in this field when we look only at value propositions that can be found online, for instance, and by providers. Still, it brings us to the point, like, where is it taking us then? If that's the promise, where are we at now, or where could it possibly take us? First of all, what we said, what is it and what isn't, and what's the promise? Now let's look at a maturity model that may help us to understand how far it can take us and where it goes, rounding it up then by understanding where does HR need to go with this. So a maturity model that we've been developing internally at SDworks to get a better understanding of the different types or levels of analytics that may prove to be useful. And we base our work again on the ideas and the thoughts, the research of John Boudreau to think about where it is taking us. This is basically an overview of where analytics may help HR, but also what the challenges is. On the x-axis down, you see there is the axis of the HR data maturity. And on the y-axis, you can see there's added value. And the more we move up to the top right corner, the more added value we see or potentially see. But that also means that on the HR data maturity side, we need to evolve. We need to build the skills. We need to build the capabilities to get us there. And that's not really self-evident. If we take a look at the top left corner, we start off with metrics. And like I said, also in its definition as such, metrics are not to be considered analytics. Metrics are reporting. They are data that we present in a certain way because it gives us an idea of where we're at. So metrics is, in terms of added value, necessary, but maybe not really adding to the understanding. So it's not just reporting. And if we move it up then a bit more to the right-hand side, we may use benchmarks, for instance. And benchmarks help us to compare our own data, maybe with publicly or other benchmark data, to understand where we're at. So this contributes already to a better understanding and the value of the data available, and also helping us potentially in building better decisions. We can move up a bit and look at the dashboards and scorecards, which are basically also not just metrics, but also give us an idea of where we're moving, where we're at. We can involve benchmarks in that. This helps us to actually to better understand where we are heading with our strategy, for instance. So again, another added value, but also requires some data maturity. If we want to use other data, if we want to better understand how, for instance, our colleagues are feeling, how people are doing, how they're doing in terms of well-being, how they're doing in terms of engagement, we can use surveys. And as you probably know, and as you probably also have experienced, surveys have been very popular during the corona crisis to get a better understanding of how people are doing. At the same time, we see that people are tired of surveys, so data maybe are not so available, or we're not getting to grips with all the data. So there's some tiredness going on in the surveys. What's important in this part of the table that you see of the graph is that we're talking about descriptive and assessment. We're talking about descriptive data. They are describing the situation. They're assessing what is the case. And the big block that you see there in gray is what has been common to be understood as the wall of Boudreaux. And basically what Wayne Caskew and John Boudreaux are advocating is that there is a huge step to take to go from descriptive to diagnostic analytics. Because up there, we're going to actually start using data and combining data to get a better understanding in terms of correlation, meaning what's happening together with what, or even causation, what causes what, in the field of our people analytics, in the field of people in general in our organization. So what are we talking about when we do this, and why does it require extra data maturity? Basically, it means that we can gain insights by, for instance, combining, using statistical methods, absenteeism data with engagement data, and coming to the understanding that in some departments of your organization, low engagement may be related to the working circumstances, and in another to the relationship with the boss, which means that in terms of taking decisions, you take very different decisions of measures that you can take to improve the situation. We can also look at better understanding of why people are leaving, for instance. What is the correlation between engagement and people turnover in your organization or in certain parts of the organization? This is, of course, in terms of added value, more added value than just descriptive data, but it requires also from inside your HR organization or from outside your organization, a number of skills, a number of competencies, a number of capabilities to actually make sure that these can be delivered, these analyses, and secondly, that also everybody that needs to use them understands what it means. And there also, I think we have work to do in terms of educating and training a number of people to better understand what the data is. Because as, for instance, also Professor Ans de Vos has told me several times, even correlation and causation are very different things. Last and not least, and there we are talking about often the promise of HR data, which I referred to before, is that there are also new ways of using technologies that are very novel, that go beyond statistics, to actually look at prescriptive data or predictive data, meaning that we can use technology reactively to answer a question, for instance, or even proactively to run certain technology over our data to understand patterns that we haven't seen ourselves. And more, these prove to be very successful analyses, prove to be very successful technologies. For instance, to better understand who are the people in your organization that are likely to leave, where's absenteeism likely to go up in certain circumstances in your organization. These are very interesting things that we're looking at. And again, this means that we need capabilities and tools to actually do this, tools and capabilities that we often see are not yet available in the HR organization. That does not mean that we cannot move there, but it's a very big investment, and it's very likely that you or the HR department would be connecting to a supplier or a partner to actually do these kinds of analyses. Now, I hope this helps to get a better understanding of where we're moving with people analytics and the potential. And the wall of Boudreaux is still there. I think we are moving ahead and helping our clients already with a lot of assessment analytics, and now are moving into correlation and causation. Some organizations are already experimenting with new technology like artificial intelligence, like machine learning, for instance, and very importantly, to predict the talent gaps that we'll be facing in the organization in the next year or in the coming years. This to share with you, and maybe also an idea to focus yourself on where are we at yet and where do we need to move to get there. If we move there in that field, in that arena, I think what I already said before is that we're going to also have to step up within the HR department in terms of skills. And this also was supported by Ulrich, Dave Ulrich, who came up with a new model for HR to think about what is it that you need in terms of skills, in terms of capabilities to face the future of to face the future in HR. And although some of them were known before, and he reversed also to some of the things he'd done before, the culture champion, the human capital creator, we do see that in terms of delivery enablers, analytics designer and interpreter is becoming a very, very important field. So it's to think about also in terms of engaging people within the HR organization and finding new people, that we actually have to find people that can do this for us, or that we move forward using external people to get this done. In any ways, I think in the entirety of your HR organization, you're going to have to find ways to think about how can I use the data that I have? What is the data available in my organization? How can we use them to come up with better decisions on the people side of the business? And how will I be staffing my HR department, making sure that we are ready to face the future and meet up with the demands that our organization have? Also in terms of, for instance, performance of the organizational capabilities. I would like to thank you very much for your attention. I wish you a very pleasant day at HR Executive, and I'm looking forward to be there next time in the Cozy Studio with Peter. Thank you very much.